Within the earth, from waters blue, fairies are whispering to me and to you.
Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there.
I'm Claire Casely, the fairy whisperer. In the air of sylvan nights, we'll find our way by fairy light. Fairies whisper throughout the land. It's time to walk hand in hand. To catch a fairy whisper, you have to listen closely. Listen with me. Hello, welcome back to Fairy Whispering. It's wonderful to be back, and I've got some great guests coming up for you for the new season. And you'll notice I've created a new introduction that I believe better suits the podcast and my work going forwards, because it reflects a recurring theme in fairy whispering that is now becoming more prominent in my work, and that's honouring and reconnecting with the fairy realm. And that includes all the other beings that coexist with humans on planet Earth, in other realms, and elsewhere in the universe. My first guests for this new season of Fairy Whispering are Stephen and Evan Strong, who are groundbreaking independent researchers exploring our forgotten origins. Stephen and Evan are descended from Australia's original peoples and work closely with them to bring forward new wisdom for this era to benefit humanity, planet Earth, and all beings that coexist with us. In this episode, they discuss their experiences with Yowies, which is Australia's version of Bigfoot. They reveal many things about Yowies and little people, including their metaphysical abilities, which I have heard about before. They were talking about them, how they can appear and reappear, and that some elders of the original peoples in Australia possess these powers too. I've heard of this from other sources about some of the original people in America too that can do this. In fact, one elder disappeared right before Graham Hancock's eyes, much to his amazement. Stephen and Evan also have an exciting conference scheduled for September, where sacred information from a prophecy about our origins and the way forward for humanity and Earth will be revealed by an elder for the first time. And I've put links to this event and their work in the description for this episode, and also on my blog, The Fairy Whispering. So enjoy this episode. It's a fascinating conversation that I really enjoyed, and it's a positive step into this new season, bringing peace and hope to you and to the world. So hello, Stephen and Evan, welcome.
Thank you so much for asking to join you. We're
Yes,
looking forward to it.
very happy to be here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, to begin with, just very briefly, I used to be a teacher. I was a principal in primary school, in the executive in high school, and I became involved over a period of time in writing the Aboriginal Studies for New South Wales, of course, with some other people. Got heavily involved in that. And as I became more involved, and I went down to Sydney quite a few times to help write the courses up and write up university courses and things, I started to realise that most of the information I was giving was wrong. I started to work more in Moree. I worked with the parents. I taught a lot of original kids, and they certainly seemed to take a shine to me, didn't they, Evan?
Just for your readers, we say original, not Aboriginal,
Yes.
because AB
Yeah,
is the, yeah.
abhorrent, abnormal. We call ourselves
Okay.
original. So what
Original.
happened was
Mm.
while I was working in the schools, particularly in Moree, it became more and more obvious that some of the stuff I put in the curriculum was wrong, and most of the stuff that other people were putting in was wrong. And I tried to point that out to the Department of Education, got involved in some very heated discussions in Sydney and other places, and then
Mm.
resigned.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
from that
Mm.
point on, we started doing research into original culture, and we did a lot of comparisons between that and Gnosticism.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was given ceremony by probably the most important elder in Australia. And from that point on, because I was given elder ceremony by Kano, elders from all over the country rang us up and wanted to show us stuff they hadn't shown anyone else. And for the
Wow.
last 15 years, we've been wandering all over Australia. We never go on to any one country until we're asked to go on to that country. And we've got to be asked by elders. And then basically what we do is we don't make plans about what we see. We wait to
Mm.
be told
Mm.
what we're going to see, and then we make up questions and we make up stuff to write, and then we give it back to the elders before it's published. So we are writing on behalf of the original people, and we're doing it old way. We're not
Yeah.
going and getting a degree and then going to the departments and getting some money to go and look at some place, and then they want you to write a paper about what you expect to see, and
Mm.
then you turn up there. And as many of our elders have said, when the archaeologists come, they all say the same thing, don't they, Evan? Yes, sir. No, sir. 3 bags full, sir. And then hope that you leave. And as soon as you leave, they get back with what they're doing. So
Yeah.
what we're doing is we're bringing information that has never hit the mainstream. And because of
Mm.
that, the government and many other people are not happy with us at all. So
Mm.
primarily, that's my link into this. And Evan, yours was through.
Yeah, well, mine's just, well, probably being your son. But basically, um, I went to university and one of my majors, I ended up doing anthropology and archaeology just because I thought it would be fun.
Mm.
Uh, at the time, I was studying psychology and counseling and that kind of stuff, and because it was like a broad degree, I could throw in whatever I wanted, and ended up getting some good marks in it and got pretty, you know,
Mm.
interested in that all, but I kind of went, well, I'm not going to do anything with this. This was just to fill in the end of my degree. Funny enough, that's all I use now. But funny how that goes.
You
But
never got the other
Yeah.
part of it. You get a job for that.
no, no,
You
that
didn't realize a degree in social science is like getting a job as maybe assistant manager at McDonald's. It's about the sort what normally
pretty much. If you're
Gosh.
lucky, you might
Mm.
get something in community services, maybe. But
Mm.
what ended up happening was just that kind of interest flowed in. And then I think I was doing some kind of human services style stuff. I hurt my
Mm-hmm.
back. And we started looking at the Gnostic stuff. And then, funny enough, our first book, we started writing about the Gnostic connection to the
Mm.
dreaming. And I remember what the first person read it. Yeah, yeah, you guys are terrible writers, but you have an original idea, so I'm going to work with you. And then slowly
Ah.
over the years, we've gotten better and better at it.
Yeah, I do
Yeah,
remember him telling us
yeah,
you
yeah,
guys are shocking writers, but you've got a good idea.
yeah. So,
You fell into that
yeah,
basically. Yeah.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah. And then along the way, I have had a few experiences with what we call the Yowie
Well, we'll
and
do that
Mm.
separately.
yeah,
Come into that.
and some fairy stuff as well that I
Yeah.
wanted to mention
Yes. I would
as
love to hear
well.
about that.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
there's always that metaphysical,
Mm.
supernatural aspect that's followed us around.
Mm-hmm.
We've both experienced that we actually put in our work as well, which um, not everybody likes, but it's like, hey, this is what we
Yeah.
experience, and
That's what's
an
happening.
integral
Yeah.
part of original culture as well to
It is.
acknowledge
Mm.
that side of things.
Pete, that's a
Mm.
very important point that I want to focus on. The original people are agreed by all experts to have the oldest culture on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
What they don't understand It's a culture's based around magic.
Mm.
And when we go into country, so many times, my elder that's given us ceremony, he's done things that humans would call miracles, and he doesn't call them anything. I remember when he was with Graham Hancock, and Graham and I were
Yeah.
sitting down when Kano came, and Graham was told if he comes to Australia and wants to look at our work, which he did, he
Mm.
was told to do that. He had to do ceremony with Kano, but he wasn't ready for that ceremony. In fact, none of us were,
No.
because he just disappeared. He
Wow.
completely disappeared. He was walked down to the fire pit, did his songs, and then walked backwards one step, then the second step. And there was about 15 people there, and he completely
Gosh.
disappeared. And you should have seen Graham. He was sitting next to me,
I bet he
and
fell
for
off
the
his
first
chair.
time in his life,
Uh,
he couldn't speak. And I've got to tell you,
Yeah. Yeah.
Graham Hancock, if I
Yeah.
said that he's got nothing to say and he's dumbstruck, he'd say that couldn't happen. But it
Mm.
can. He was sitting next to
Mm.
Sansa at the time, his wife, and
Yeah.
they could not cobble together a word. And it became clear to me when we started doing the original story, Kano
Mm.
was doing these things to teach me something, to
Yes.
make sure that we don't dismiss the part that academics don't want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
mm,
Mm.
It's a mystical culture. It's based around magic, and are clever
Mhm.
fellas because they can do magic. And
Mm.
I was given ceremony. Evans met Kano too, and I've seen at least 8 different things he's done that equal disappearing, and some are
Mm.
even more amazing than that. And after you've seen it so many times,
mm.
when you go out in the country, you are looking for it because you know it's there.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we do it differently. And a lot of archaeologists do not like us at all.
Mm. No, it's fascinating because what you're talking about is this division between the natural and what we call the natural now and the supernatural, but it's all part of the same
It
thing.
is the same thing. I mean, we're going
Yeah.
to talk about Yowies and little people. Now, in Australia, if you want to mention the word Yowies in mainstream, you'll be laughed at, you'll be ridiculed, you'll be called an idiot.
Mm.
And it's basically really toxic in Australia when it comes to Yowies and little people. And I got to be honest, we were never going to touch either,
Mm.
but we didn't have a choice. And when we talk about why, you'll know why we didn't have a choice. Not that Not that we've ever seen a Yowie. We've heard them. We've heard their footsteps. I've heard them
Yeah.
knocking on our back door. We've had all sorts of
We've had,
incidents with them.
oh, yeah,
But
there's a recent one we can talk about as well.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. So anyway, yeah,
Mm.
that's obviously you want to talk about that. So we'll let you ask
Mm.
the questions, and then we'll take you down the path of
Yeah.
digging. But
So obviously you've just explained you didn't set out to go into this realm. It's
yeah,
just happened alongside your
yeah,
other
yeah, it did.
interests.
And it was something to
Yeah.
begin with, I would guarantee you I wasn't going to touch. In fact, I remember at the very start when I was given ceremony, Peter, who's the elder that keeps after the mystical stuff, I was talking about the fact that he said to me, how do you think we got around the world? And I said, by boat. And he said, what about in the air? I said, I'm not going to talk about that, Peter, being aliens and that sort of stuff and all
Mm.
that stuff. And he said, yes, you will. And I said, no, I won't. He said, you
Mm.
wait and see, you will. And we do. We talk about it constantly now because it's where our research takes us.
So I'd love to hear about how this contact with the Yowies started.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'll
what's the
start.
start point?
I'll start the main one, and Evan, you're going to come in halfway through, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. With us, we live in a rainforest, and you've got to
Mm.
understand that, Claire. We live in where we're living was the largest subtropical stand of rainforest on the planet.
Oh, can you see that picture?
Yes, I
Yeah.
can. Yeah,
Okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
Picture.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So you've got to remember, because it was the largest stand of subtropical rainforest, the Yowies were running through the whole of this region. And of course, when the whitefellas came here, and I'm original and white, so I'm a mixture,
Mm.
the first thing they did was they couldn't get into the rainforest because when they walked in there 3 kilometers, they got lost. It's just intense and
Mm.
it's massive. And so original people would take them in and bring them out because they didn't know where they were going. And what they managed to do is to clear about 98% of it, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
Cleared it completely, which meant that the Yowies area of habitation was really limited and the numbers were limited.
So there were pockets.
There are pockets, and we live on the edge
of a pocket
of the largest stand for about 50 kilometers of rainforest. There's about a couple of thousand hectares around, and we live on the edge of it. Now, it goes back to when we first came here. And it's a strange story, and of course it's true, but something happened halfway through, didn't it? So what happened was we heard this almighty noise that was taking place. Basically, where we're standing, where this house is now, there wasn't anything here at that stage. And we were standing about here, weren't we?
We were, yes.
And just down there, 15 meters from where I am, is the rainforest. And my son, Evan, and my other son, Morgan, who doesn't believe any of this stuff, and my wife, we all stood there and listened to this screaming. And it went on for about 15 minutes. And there's an interesting part to that. And we just stood there listening to it. And you could hear the footsteps, and it wasn't far away. And I remember describing it because someone said it could have been a person. I said it could only have been a person if they had a microphone and a portable Marshall amp. Because I got to tell you, mate, I said no human can make the volume that was coming out of this, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So we stood there this is 20 years ago, 25 years ago, isn't it?
It is, yes.
Yeah. We stood there for about 10 minutes and we just watched. We didn't say a word to each other, and then it finished. And so what we did is we walked back up to the house, went back in and had tea, and nobody said a word about it. Not one single word.
Which is quite strange.
Which is quite strange because we all stood around together and then, for all intents and purposes, completely forgot it. Didn't react to it. When people started talking about Yowies, I just said, oh, yeah, man, I'm not touching that. Didn't even think of this. And it's very important because I actually believe their voices can have an impact on you. And I'm going to talk more about that. Different noises they make affect us in different ways, and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
So, left it. Didn't even think about that again. And then about 4 years ago, 3 years ago, like that, yeah. Okay. About 3 years ago. Now, what had happened was I'd taken out some sacred rocks. I'm the custodian and keeper of the rocks, and I've been collecting. People have been giving, so I don't take them out of the bush, nor does Evan. People have been buying and collecting them, and we've got hundreds upon hundreds of them. And our job is to put them in the country so people, black fellas and white fellas, can do ceremony. Now, I put them out on our farm, and that brought them up here. They came up. They could sense the rocks were there because these are ancient rocks and they're quite different than any other rocks in Australia. And they came up here because of those rocks to begin with. So what happened was, we're going to talk about the one that you're involved. So we go 20 odd years. No one's mentioned the damn thing since then. We've never spoken about it because we basically heard that and we walked back. Our minds were cleaned, right?
Yeah.
So what happened is, and I do remember one thing, when we heard the noise, I remember this feeling of absolute fear. But it was a strange one. It just overtook me, but it didn't make me feel like I wanted to run away. And it's interesting because I read an account of someone about the year before we saw them again. He was down at our creek, at Maguire's Creek, and he saw.
Yeah, he was fishing.
He was fishing, and we read the account. And he said as soon as he saw them and he heard the noise, he was overcome by this real massive feeling of fear. And someone wrote back and said, did you feel like you needed to shoot? He said, no, I would never have done that. He said, I knew I was feeling fear, but I didn't feel like I needed to run away. It was like it was letting me know, I'm letting you watch me, but don't get too close, right? So this is what happened. It was about 11:30 at night, and I'm in the other, because we live on a property, and I was in a different house up there, and I was watching the football. And all of a sudden I heard the crowd were making this ridiculous noise. It was a growling, grunting noise, and I'd never heard it before. And I'm looking at the football and I can hear the screaming. And I thought, what is going wrong with the people there? Started to dawn
Yeah.
on me. I've heard that before. And then I turned the TV off and the screaming continued. And I thought, hang on. And then when I heard that, automatically it brought back memories of what I heard before.
Mm.
And I felt that same feeling. It was the same screaming of fear again. And I thought to myself, okay, what am I going to do about this? This is quite weird. Um, I'll just go outside and see what I can see. Now, 11:30 at night, we live in a rainforest and there was no moon. So I can tell you, I could see 3 meters in front of me and it was about 10 meters away. I could hear it and it was making this noise. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do? And then little did I know at exactly the same time that I'm standing outside listening to this noise.
Right. So I was at a garden party. I'm in my, white suit, Panama hat, the whole
Yeah.
get up, right?
Yeah.
So I come home, I've got my little cooler esky, with my drinks in it and leftover food or whatever, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I pull up in my car and I'm like,
Engine's running.
engine's running, and I hear that's the noise he's talking about. And I'm like, oh, for the love of God, my fan belt. I can't stop the fan belt from whining. That's what it must be.
Hmm.
So I thought, well, I'll turn the engine off. And I went, oh, well, that noise is still there. So it can't be the fan belt. Oh, it must be something in the song that I'm listening to on the radio. So turn that off. And then I thought, well, it's not that. I can still hear it. I turned the heater off. I could still hear it. I got out and it got really loud as soon as I opened the door and got out.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
I'm grabbing a few things and it went from, oh, that's an interesting noise to, oh, oh, I don't know if I like that very quickly. So I'm like, ordinarily I'd probably do a couple of trips, like 2 trips of gear. And I went, you know what? I'm going to grab everything and I'm going in one trip. And just before that happened, a friend phoned in the car
From
to
Perth.
from Perth, which is the other side of Australia.
About 4,000 k's from us.
She could
Mm.
hear
Hmm.
it just through my phone because my phone was on the car stereo. This
Wow.
like, what is that? And I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, I think you should get inside. I went, I am going to go inside. I'll phone you back when I go
Yeah.
in. So I've grabbed everything and I've power walked slash
Hmm.
ran to the house, thrown all the gear in, and thought, well, I'll quickly phone her back and tell her, I made it. And did. And then she's like, have you shut all the doors and windows? And I went, you know what? I don't think I have. And she's like, I think you should do that. So I did shut all the windows and the doors and everything. And we had this really weird, disjointed conversation and meandered into nothing. And after about an hour, we
Mm.
just looked at each other and went, let's just go to bed. Like, we're not making
Hmm.
any sense here. It's like we were delirious almost. And funny enough, the next morning, we both woke up with the same symptoms. We had like a sore head, bit of a sore throat, nose was
Right.
feeling a bit weird, which are some classic symptoms of infrasound sickness. So
Okay.
infrasound is one of the frequencies that they can
Mm.
make noises in. I think certain animals can do it too,
Mm.
tigers and whatnot. I think crocodile maybe,
Yeah.
possibly hippo. There's about 6 animals that can do it. I know a symphonic orchestra kind of tuned their instruments in some of those frequencies, and everyone in the audience got up and got nauseous and left and fearful, and
Right.
the
Yeah.
crowd went pretty quick. So it has a
Yeah.
physiological effect on the
Mm.
body, and that's what we're both experiencing, me and my friend
Hmm.
Sarah over that way. So, this is kind of like our baptism into this world of cryptozoology now. So then, funny.
Then what happens from there is that now we've both been affected.
Mm,
We discussed it and we
mhm,
figured, okay, there's
yeah,
something going on here.
hmm
But they'd moved in.
they had.
They had moved in
Mm.
here and they were staying here, and that's what's going to happen next. So what then happens is I I thought to myself, well, that was interesting. And that's we've done that before. We've remembered that this has
Mm,
happened before.
yeah.
We knew about Yowies because there is not a black fella, an original person in
Mm.
Australia. if you were to say to them, I don't believe in Yowies or little people, they would
Mm.
either walk away from you or punch you. There is
Right.
not a black
Yeah.
fella that doesn't believe in it. And what
Mm.
annoys me is we're the oldest planet culture on the planet, and no scientist or expert will take any notice of what we've got to say. And
Yeah.
it really is
Mm.
quite insulting. So
Mm.
what then happens is this. At this stage, I didn't know they'd moved in. We contacted our expert on Yowies, Uncle Donny, and gave us a lot more information, and he told us
To
about,
to the point where what they were doing is they were eating a lot of fruit. I didn't realize
oh yeah,
they have a bit of a sweet tooth when it comes to fruit, right? So
Yeah.
what they would do is and you go past this kind of track and there was like just a pile of mandarin or I think they might call them tangerines in
mm,
America. But that fruit peels, but just in a weird kind of just on the ground in the middle of nowhere,
Hmm.
and it would be a couple hundred meters to the nearest tree. So it's like something had grabbed it, sat down on the ground,
oh yeah,
or stood there and ate it, and then
placed them.
placed them. And then I noticed a tree near that there was like a scratch in a tree, a mark.
Ah,
And I
right.
said pictures and measurements to Uncle Donnie, and he's going, "Oh no, no, you're missing one." I mean, what do you
You
mean?
told him where to go and
He
find it,
said,
and he did.
"You go back, you go in the long grass, there'll be another one. There'll be another peel." And he says, when they do that, that's actually a sign. That's actually a signal.
Oh,
And he said that's a constellation. And then there's one further down here. That's a constellation. Um,
that's so interesting.
So
I
this is what
yeah,
happens now. We've got the Yowies around, and they start coming up all the time.
yeah.
And what they were doing is where my TV was in our house,
Mm.
they started doing things just there. Night after night, they do something different. And it was always around 11:30 to 12 o'clock. And it went on for quite some time.
Okay.
Things like this would happen. On one occasion, one of the Yowies got a branch and smashed it against a tree. And I'm sitting inside with the TV and it just I covered everything. And I raced
Mm.
outside to find out a tree had fallen down and I found nothing. And I asked Uncle Don, he said,
Yeah.
did he do it once or twice? Just once. He said, he's knocking on your door. They want
Mm.
to talk. I
Hmm.
thought, oh, okay, they want to talk to me. And I'm thinking, whatever picked that branch up and hit against the tree, if that was my head, I wouldn't be talking anymore. And I'm
Mm.
thinking, yeah, it's all right for you to tell me that, Uncle Donny, but these guys are big and they weigh a lot. So then what happens is a couple of days later, I go out again and I startled one because he wasn't ready for me. And I heard him run three
Yeah.
steps and then he stopped, or she.
Mm.
And what's interesting is we live in an area that's volcanic. In fact, this was the
Okay.
largest
Yeah.
crater on the planet
Yeah.
and it's all red soil and it's like rubber. And when you
Mm.
run on it, you can't make a noise. But this thing, when it ran those three steps, the noise was so great, it bounced off the house and echoed. And I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, man, what has the weight that could make that noise to make something that bounces off that? And I'm thinking 500 kilos. And I'm thinking, some of these people are telling me to go and find the thing. I said, it's 10 foot high and it weighs 500 kilos. No way. But they
Yeah.
didn't give up. They
Mm.
did not give up. They kept coming around. And then I went out one night about 11:30 and I went out to the back patio and 2 meters around the corner, there was this knocking like that. And it was actually, I counted it. It was nine bangs and then a pause, then a fit, the next one. And I thought to
Mm.
myself, he's just there. He's
mhm.
3 meters away. Now, if I go around the corner, I'll see him. So I ran inside and closed the door. Right. This is going to be a constant story I've got to tell you. This is par for the course here. You've got to remember, we
Mm.
live in the rainforest and it's all
Yes.
around. We're surrounded by it and we live on a property and there's no street lights and there's no
Mm.
one around. You're
Mm.
on your own. You with a 500 kilo, 15-foot being that you can't see in the dark. It's
Mm.
not that easy. So this goes on for a while, and we spoke to Uncle Donny about this, and we said, "What's going on?" He said, "There's two types of yowies." I said,
Oh,
"What?"
right.
Oh yeah, this is something I didn't know. We all
Yeah.
thought it was the big airy ones that Evan's got up
Mm.
there. He said, "No, there's two types," and he told me he's very clear about this. He said the ones who've passed on, they don't get this curtain we've got here. They're not like that. They can come back anytime they want, and they're more powerful. He said, they're going to move in too.
Right.
And I said,
Oh,
and he said, no, they've told me
gosh.
they're going to move into your house. And I thought, oh, right, okay, that's going to be interesting. At
Oh,
12 o'clock at night, I've got a Yowie walking down the
yeah.
hallway
But
looking like that.
but you do, yeah.
So what happened was
Yeah.
they did move in. And every time I go to sleep at night, they'd pick things up and throw them around the room. They'd say things and grunt, and I could tell the difference between the male grunt and the female grunt. And this was going on day after day. And we spoke to
Mm.
Uncle Donnie about this. He said, no, they want to protect you. I said, well, Uncle Donnie,
Oh,
be a bit quieter because they're waking
Trying to
me.
sleep.
And the funny part was, every time you heard this noise, if you're
mm.
in their house in the middle of the night and it's pitch black, your stomach rolls over.
Yeah.
We, I didn't. I
No,
just knew what they were doing.
to the
Mm.
point, I think it was about a year after that they were in my room, a separate occasion, and pulling on my foot on my
Yeah, trying
leg.
to heal you.
Just yeah, like really pulling on it. Now, so you think if you woke up in the middle of the night with someone or something like
Yes.
reaping leg that you would be scared?
But we knew. We knew.
Wasn't
Mm.
scared, just
No.
kind of went, oh, cool, oh, good luck. And they tried that a couple of nights
Mm.
and then through my other contacts in that world, from Sarah Bignell and Yowie Central, she was saying, yeah, they were actually going around and healing a whole bunch of
They're
people.
doing to other people around
Yeah.
here.
So,
Now, for me, the part where I gave up,
Yeah.
when all this was going on, I kept trying to find because I was a headmaster, I'm a teacher, and I've written lots of stuff for university. I'm trying to find a rational excuse for all this, right?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I remember I kept pulling back off this, thinking, no, there's got to be an explanation for this I don't understand. And then they won. What they did was there was a woman that made a noise, and the noise made a couple of noises. I don't know what they're saying because I can't speak Yowie.
Mm-hmm.
And she woke me up and I said, look, I'm just going to go to sleep. Fine, do what someone else to do. And then she did something. She made that noise and I thought, okay, she's gone now. Then she walked up the hallway and turned on the light. Now, when the
Gosh.
light gets turned on in your house, ladies and gentlemen, when it's one
Mm.
o'clock in the morning, you normally go and see it, go to the light, and you carry something with you, like a tennis racket or a baseball
Mm.
bat.
Mm-hmm.
So I just walked straight up there, looked at the switch, it was turned on, and I hadn't turned it on. And I was going to try and go to sleep even with it on. But I woke up and I thought, I can't do this.
Mm.
And I said then to her, because what they were asking me to do, I knew what they were asking me to do. They wanted me to write an article about Yowies, and I didn't want to do it. And
Ah.
after she turned the light on, I said to her, okay, we'll write one. And then what I did, I started to study them because I gave
Mm.
up. Up until then, I was letting these things happen, but saying, I don't want to go down this path.
Mm.
But then I decided, okay, I'm going to go out because Uncle Donnie told me what the noise they make during the daytime.
mhm.
And I'd thought, because we live in a rainforest, for the last 20 years, I'd hear the hooting of this
Oh,
owl. And I
right.
kept thinking, owl, it's an owl.
Out in the
And then he
daytime.
told
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
no, the hooting are Yowies. And I thought,
Yeah.
hang on, I'll do some research here. So we did some research and we found out about every owl in Australia. And my question was, which ones hunt during the day? And there are two. One's in Armandland and one's in the Kimberley. And they're about 3,000 kilometres from where we live.
Mm.
No, it wasn't them. And the only other time owls hunt during the day, if they're in a place where there's very little food, and therefore they've got to change their habits. But they're living in the last full, untouched rainforest left. Of all the animals, they're living in the place where they've got plenty of food.
Mm.
And I did this. I decided, okay, I'm going to go out. I took a book out with me and I'm going to go out and listen because I've heard them. And this was the day they must have known I was listening because I counted in that 4 hours I spent up there around about just under 1,000 hoots. Now, what I started
Gosh.
to do as I did this is I tried to do this scientifically.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I found was in the morning, they do fives, fours, and threes.
Oh,
That's all.
right.
And here's the interesting part. Between each hoot, it
Mm.
is exactly 3 seconds. Never varies. time after time after time, I kept counting. One, two, there it is. One, two, there it is on the third. It never
Hmm.
varied. And I started to think, and I listened to lots of birds over the next couple of times. I'm thinking, do the birds do this? They never give their call in strict mathematical sequences.
Mm.
They don't do it, but these guys do. And what I also found, the more I listened, is they had prefixes and suffixes that go at the start of the hoot and the end of the hoot. And I
Oh,
counted six prefixes and eight suffixes that go at the start and finish. And at the end of it, after my 4 hours, I was around about 850. And I started to learn a few things about the language. One of the things I learned was that they don't do sixes, they don't do sevens. And then only on two occasions did they do ones. And when they did the ones, they were the two times I had the longest break before they started up again. It's a bit like saying one is like goodbye. No, I'm finished now. Okay. That's the end of my conversation. And I knew by where they were coming from, I was dealing with five families because they were in five different locations and they're all calling out to one another.
gosh.
But I have absolutely no doubt because they've never been this prolific.
Mm.
They knew I was listening. They were aware of that and they wanted to make a point. And so what I found out was that their language is far more sublime and nuanced than ours is because each one of those hoots has a different meaning. And why are they always 3 seconds? Now, in the afternoon, they never do fives. They only do four threes and occasional two. And of course, the one means that we're finished. And of course, after I did this, I started to say, now I've really got it. And I went out, I heard that night, it was a her this time, and she was near, where the black cockies go?
Yeah.
The black cockies are about, they come to our place 10, 20, 30, and they spend all day in the trees there. And she was standing near there, and it was about 11 o'clock at night. And she basically was calling me over. And I knew
Oh.
female, and I thought, hang on, this is a female.
Mm.
And as we all know, Claire, that
Mm.
in all species, the females are far less aggressive than the males, and particularly with the Homo sapiens, they can be really aggressive. No, this is a female. I thought, I think I can do this. But I then said, I called out to her and said, I'm going to come over, but I'm going to be honest about what I'm to tell her what I did here. I said to her, I'm going to come over, but I'm going to go and have a smoke of yarnie, which is marijuana. I'm going to have one smoke first to get up some courage. I'll go inside and have the smoke, then come out and I'll talk to
Yeah.
you. And I went to the door to go inside and I heard one hoot. And I went and had the smoke and
Gosh.
came back outside and she was gone. And they were
Oh.
gone for the next 10 months, weren't they?
They were, yes.
Yeah, because what had happened is there's about five stands of rainforest in the whole area. And
Hmm.
our stand, they had just about wiped out
Oh
the
gosh.
swamp wallabies because they eat meat, right? And
Hmm.
we thought they were all gone. And what they decided to do, because they're like all black fellas, we don't like to make the species become extinct. So they
Hmm.
left for a year. And of course, the swamp wallabies have come back now, haven't they?
Yes.
And that what happened is another wallabies come now, that grey one, haven't
Yeah,
they? And
yeah.
I reckon they're eating them now. And I'll
Yes.
literally wipe them out and then go again. So they left. And she was trying to come over and say, look, we're going. I wanted to talk to you. And of course, I didn't do it.
Mm.
So our dealings now, and I can still tell you to this day that most times I go to sleep, there's still noises in my bedroom. They aren't going to stop because I'm the custodian of the rocks. They know the rocks and they're interested in them. And
Mm.
they're also interested in me and in Evan. And we've now had this has been constant. And Leah's friend, who's now living with Evan at the moment, she's heard them walking past because we've got a little road about 5 meters from where Evan is. And I think about
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month, you had a big issue with them again, didn't you?
Yeah, so there's another rainforest reserve which I used to go to, a couple of times a year to look for signs. So it's usually sticks that were shoved into the ground, maybe arched into each other, but they
Right.
weren't branch holes because they were so deep. that you need both hands, and then sometimes you still couldn't pull them out.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I've been there a couple of times. Once there were heaps of those, and then another time I think they were mowing the track and they all got destroyed. Another time, me and a friend were there and like, oh, there's nothing going on here. And then the moment we said that, he's just like, that stick wasn't in the path when we came past before, and then everything went quiet. We're like, okay, we are being watched, but
The birds go quiet,
yeah,
don't they?
Mm.
The
everything goes.
whole of the
Ah,
bush goes quiet.
Um,
yes, I've heard of
Another time
this.
I went
Mm.
there, we got very kind of this euphoric feeling, and it wasn't unpleasant, but we kind of had to leave, otherwise we're going to just fall down and sleep there the night, which I didn't really want to do. But the last time something had followed us home, one of them had followed us
Yeah.
home,
Oh,
and it wasn't very,
no.
yeah, it wasn't very happy. So it yeah, it was on top of the house. Girlfriend Leah saw it through the window. It actually mimicked her voice. It tried to lure
You out.
Oh,
the cat out, then me out using her voice.
And called Evan
gosh.
down to the road where it was going to kill. We're going to kill him.
Oh, or something.
We
But
found out later.
someone had shot it. So
Ah,
it's
Yeah.
and what we ended up having to do is we had to get the local family to negotiate, and it took 3 days with it to move it
mm,
along. And in that
mm.
time period, we had to be, it was like a curfew. We couldn't be out
Can't
after
go
10.
outside.
Mind you, the second day I had to go see a concert, and I came home at midnight and once again I ran very quickly from the car to the house because I knew it was
My
around.
gosh.
So that was our last experience of it. But then
So,
the
so
poor thing, we realized it's been attacked.
Mm.
Yeah.
can I just ask a couple of questions?
Yeah.
So because this being Xiaoyi had been shot,
Mm.
Mm.
that suggests that they're very physical.
Mm.
Are they physical and metaphysical?
No, the metaphysical ones are the ones who are
Yep.
passed over like
But
we
the
do.
but the physical
Right.
ones
Metaphysical
still
ones.
have some metaphysical powers. They can actually camouflage themselves. There is
Mm,
something in their hair that does the opposite. I
mm,
forget what it is, but it bounces the light off them. They can camouflage, and then I've been told they can actually phase,
Mm.
and like one of our elders can do anyway
yeah.
from one point to another. So they do have some metaphysical powers, but they're not going to be the ones you find in your bedroom tugging on your legs,
No, they're different.
but they can do things that we would consider metaphysical
Mm.
as well.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
the original people that I do know, Binna told me once that they found a dead Yowie baby. And
Oh.
Binna was told about that and said the elders said, "You want to come and see it?" And he said, "I'll just finish what I'm doing right now." Didn't happen, did it?
No.
It was gone then after that. What I
So
would
yes
like
and
to
no.
say with this is that irrespective of what people think about Yowies and the little ones,
Mm.
from an original viewpoint, we know they exist and we don't
Mm,
really care what the white fellas think. Now, Evan's going to put up a picture now, and I want to talk a little bit about the little ones. Now, one thing you need to understand is when you talk about little people, everyone thinks you're an idiot. I
mm,
want people to look at this picture we've put up now. That was
hmm.
taken in 1938.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
guy that, see the white fella there with the
Yeah.
glasses, his name is Joseph Birdsall.
Right.
He's 5'9", 5'10", and
Okay.
that fellow alongside was the tallest member of the tribe. They're called the Barinians. And you need to
Ah.
understand something about the little people. Now, see that picture of that? That's all up near Cairns, that mob. We read
Mm.
stories about the Barinians being wiped out in the Gold Coast, massacred. Yeah, they
Oh.
were everywhere, all over the country, and they're still here to this day.
So in the 30s, apparently they got sick of what was going on,
Yeah,
and they went, you
Mm.
know what? We're out of here, and they all just walked into the forest and disappeared.
and they're
Oh.
masters of camouflage, and that
Mm-hmm.
means unless you are, they want you to see you, you won't. Now, I can tell you something quite interesting
Trust.
about the Barinian people.
Yes.
When the tall people, before Mr. Cook came, right?
Mm. Mm.
When the tall people came, when they lived up there, whenever they had a conflict they could not resolve, they would go to them for guidance, and they would make the final judgment, and the tall people would agree to it. You need to
Oh,
understand something about these people that probably people don't know.
mm,
Secondly, they invented a boomerang. Now, you've probably seen what a boomerang is,
yeah.
but their boomerang had four, two together like a propeller, a proper
Okay.
propeller.
Yeah.
And they made that. They also made dome-shaped houses, and you can see one. They're standing behind there.
Mm,
No one
mm,
else does that. They were original, and they were part of our group. But you've got to understand, when we talk about being original, we talk about our group, we talk about the little people, and we talk about the big people. We're all the same mob.
mm.
And all of the original people we know all know about these people. I mean, I do know that quite recently around our way, you know the story about this, don't you? When the three kids were gone, three
Oh,
Aboriginal
yeah.
kids went missing near
Mm,
Nimbin, which is
mhm.
not its proper name. Its proper name is Nimbinja, and that means the place of the little hairy people. That's it.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Nimbin
great.
is named after where they live, and they
Okay.
still live there. And what
Yeah.
had happened was three kids have been missing for 3 days,
Hmm.
Aboriginal kids, and they brought in everybody, and they were looking for them everywhere, all around Nimbin. And all of a sudden, while they're all standing there, the three kids come walking out of the bush, and everyone says, "Where you been?" And they all said the same thing. We've been playing with the little people because they loved our children. They don't like us. They don't
No.
like adults. They don't trust them for some strange
Mm.
reason,
Yeah, I wonder
but they
why.
do trust the
Yeah.
children, and they were
Yeah.
playing with them. And of course,
Hmm.
they told the white fellas that, and they all said, "Oh, what a load of crap." And the elders went over and smelt them and said, "Yeah, they've been with the little ones, right? You come with us." And they just walked away. And all the white guys and the police are standing there and said, "We don't need you anymore. We're off. We've got to look after these kids. They've been with
Mm.
them." And that was it. The white fella said, "Oh, they just made it up." And the black fella said, "No, they play with them. They will actually kidnap children. They're well known for doing it, but they'll put them back. They
But
just want to play with them, don't they?"
yeah, and I think
Oh.
there's ones that might even be a little bit smaller because years and years and years ago, I
Yeah.
was dropping a friend home from just a gathering, and my car engine got a little bit wet going over the causeway, so it wouldn't work. And I went, well, I'll run back to my friend's place and tell them my car's broken. And I started to walk, and what is a 5-minute drive up this hill ended up being, an hour's run. So I'm running, and then what is in that bush next to me? There's like an animal or something. I can hear
Oh,
crashing and things, and then I look
yeah.
over and I see these little translucent men,
Fairies.
fairies,
Mm.
basically men
Flying.
flying, jumping, leaping
Oh.
Laughing
from
at
tree,
you.
and then throwing little spears at me. And then, of course, I then run faster, right? Because I'm like, I have little people chasing me. I'm going to run
Mm.
faster. They're laughing. They're laughing that they're very cheeky.
Yes, I've heard
I don't
this.
think
Yeah.
evil,
No, they're not. They're not.
cheeky,
No.
right?
Mm.
Like pulling your leg and
Mm.
having a bit of a joke. So I'm running. I then burst in reference place going, there are little men chasing me. And then one of my friends stood up and started pointing at everyone else going, I told you they were real, because he'd seen them a week before and no one believed him.
Mm.
He
Mm.
didn't really believe it, did
No, no.
he?
And so I'm all,
Uh,
I'm all sweaty, and I'm like, and yeah. So that kind of Fey world definitely exists here.
mm.
I'm original.
They are
I'm sure
diff. They
they'll
are
have
what
other
that's
names,
what
but
you would call, and I know you know this word quite
Yes.
well, using it. They
Yeah.
are what people would in other places would call fairies, but
Hmm.
they are another form of little people. We've got to understand something about the little people, and as you probably know, that we have now discovered little people in Flores and other Pacific islands.
Yes.
What people don't fully understand about that, if you look at the size of that little fella that's there at the moment.
Mm.
Now, his cranium skull will be smaller.
Mm.
Now, what they've worked out is the Flores hobbits, as they've been called, have a cranium capacity that is not as big as a chimpanzee.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
they all out, but they have a language, and
Mm.
they had a culture, and they do all the things that we did. And then people had an issue with this. They kept saying, "Well, this doesn't make sense. They've got such a small brain. How can they be so aware?" But then
Hmm.
a guy called Dean Falk looked at the skull, and they found that they've got an incredibly enlarged frontal lobe. Now,
Oh, yeah.
and then here's the second part. the second very important part, when people, Homo sapiens, say, well, we've got a 1300 cc brain and theirs is 500, we must be smarter. I always say the same thing. No, not necessarily. You've got to remember something. Your brain is working at 15% capacity. If your heart was, you'd be dead. If your liver was, you'd be dead. I think you might be brain dead, but we won't talk about that too much. What if the hobbits are using all 500 cc and you're only using 15% of 1300 cc? It's double what they've got double what they're using to what you've got. So
Mm.
don't use the size of the head to work out how bright, smart a thing
Yeah,
is,
sure. Yeah.
brain they're using,
Mm.
knowing that humans use 15%. That's not intelligent.
No.
That actually, if it was any other organ in the body, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
It would.
Yeah.
So it's very important we understand when we start trying to, because people looked at these little things and said, well, maybe they're not as smart.
Mm.
The big beings, the ones that had the 1300 cc skull, were going to these little things with the little heads and saying, man, we're having a fight and we can't work it out and we don't know how to find a solution. Can you find one? And they would say, of course we can. Yeah, we'll do this, you do that, and we'll all be okay. And they looked at each other and said, shit, yeah, that's right. Should have done that.
Isn't
So
that,
we've
yeah, amazing?
these beings, remember this,
Mm.
how many hobbits and yowies have been caught in Australia?
Mm.
No, not one. But we've caught every other animal that exists, cut it up, examined it, put it
Yeah.
in a cage. We've done all sorts of things to it, but we can't catch them. And the
Mm.
reason, I'm going to tell you what the reason is. By comparison, we're stupid and they're smart.
Mm.
When walking through the bush, if they want to show themselves, they will. If they want to disappear, they will. And we've never caught them because they don't want to be caught. But the one thing I can tell you is the reason why they wanted me to write an article, they wanted me to say one thing. They're fed up hiding. They don't want to keep doing this anymore. They want to get back to the time because before the whites came, the Yowies walked into our tribal areas
Mm.
and we
Mm.
nodded to it and we had an agreement. You go your way, we go our way. We don't get in your way and you don't get in ours. And everything was fine.
Mhm.
And that's been, I mean, if you go to America and you go into the bush with a bloody bow and arrow or a gun, good luck, you may not come out. But in Australia, there is a treaty. Although that, yeah, we broke the treaty, didn't it? Was trying to, but I don't blame for being shot. The treaty was they won't kill us. They'll
Mm.
scream at us, they'll yell at us, they'll scare us, but they won't kill us. They want us to get out of their area. They don't go into our towns and cities, and we're not
No.
to go to the bush. And that's the rule at the moment. So they do exist. They are here, but they're waiting. They're
Mm.
waiting for a change in the planet. And when that change takes place, they then will show themselves. And remember, they can speak our language, they can speak many languages, and they've got their own language. And most importantly, they know more than we do. They could be our teachers. And I want people to understand that. We've got some people who say that Yowies are some sort of cross, like a primitive sort of Neanderthal or something like that. I'm sure you've heard that. No,
Yes.
we are the primitive Neanderthals.
Mm.
Don't remember
Yeah.
that Neanderthals have larger brains than us.
Mm.
Denisovans, in fact, of the 16 hominids running around today, we're ranked seventh for brain size. But we are certainly behind the Yowies, and we're certainly behind the hobbits. They are far more intelligent than us, and they are so smart, they only show themselves when they want to, and we can never catch them.
Mm.
That's their story.
I want to come back to what Evan was saying about the little people that are running alongside you, because I've spoken to a couple of people that have experienced something similar, where something's chasing them and laughing. And one of the things that I've learned about what I call fairies, which under that umbrella I include all sorts of beings,
Yeah.
is that laughter, playfulness is part of their communication and what they do. But
Yeah.
I'm interested in those little people that were chasing you. So were they the little people you were talking about that were using invisibility or some kind of way of becoming
Mm.
invisible, sort of, or were they another type of little people that,
I think there are another
They're
type,
another type.
even smaller than the ones in the
Oh, God,
photos.
yeah.
oh,
And they
okay.
looked a little bit transparent, but then also not because I could hear them making the noise and throwing the things. So I think we're looking at even another.
They are a different type. They're more like what you understand fairies. They live on both sides of the curtain. They can come on both sides.
Mm.
Whereas
Right.
those pictures I showed you of those little fellas there,
Mm,
no, they don't go on both sides of the curtain. They've got fantastic camouflage, really good
yes.
camouflage. They can hide. The Yowies are a step above that because they can really use a lot more magic. They're the elementals.
Mm,
The Yowies and the little people were here before us.
yeah.
We are interlopers.
Mm,
They are the elementals of this planet, right? And
yes.
that's why
Mm,
when they're in the bush, you can't see them because
no.
it's the bush and they know how to hide. They know where to go. They know where the portals are and they can hear you coming well before you can
Mm,
hear them.
Probably smell us too.
Oh, God, there. Yeah, we always
mm,
say they smell, right? I can tell
yeah.
you now, I guarantee you, they're probably saying, oh my God, I can smell them. They're coming again.
They can probably smell all of our microplastics
Oh, they
embedded in
might.
our
Oh,
bodies
yeah, man.
and the
Yeah.
processed food and all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
God,
So it's interesting that the rocks were the thing that drew them to you.
because they're
But
spiritual beings,
yeah.
right? And
Mm,
these rocks we've got are incredibly spiritual rocks. I mean, the Smithsonian have seen one of our rocks and said there's nothing like it on the planet, and they wanted it. And of course, we know what the Smithsonian do to the
yeah.
rocks, and we thank you.
Mm,
But the rocks are so special. They are incredibly powerful, and they're aware of it. And they're
mm,
aware of their spiritual powers. And that's why from the time I put them out, I have no doubt because we would do ceremonies and people would sit inside them and I'd leave them there that night. And I have no doubt whatsoever. I know I was sitting there that night. They'd be sitting amongst it all night long. Never took a rock away, did they, Evan?
They definitely ate my sweet potato though.
Oh,
I
yeah.
dug this huge sweet potato out of
We
the
left them
garden.
for them.
I'm talking massive, like this big.
Yeah.
And I thought,
gosh.
I'll
Yeah.
scrub it with
Yeah.
water, take me an hour to clean it.
And you left it that
I
night.
left it out. Next morning, half of it was
And you
gone.
should have seen the teeth marks on. I showed them, didn't I? I picked up and said, look who's eating this.
I
And
had
then
my
they
skeptical.
love apples too. We put apples out for
Yeah.
them and they take them away and eat them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's I've been writing a book about the fairies in my part of the world in Devon, Cornwall, southwest of England. And there was a tradition where people used to leave out food for them.
Yeah. And why shouldn't
So,
we?
yeah. And
That's what we're doing here. And we were told about that because we
mm,
knew all the fruit off the orchards around here because
yeah.
we live in properties there. And I
Mm,
thought, well, leave some apples for them. And they take them away and they
yeah.
leave them. And sometimes you'd find the core, but it'd be a long way off. Now, people said, oh, possum did that. And I said, no, man, possums, when they go and eat, when they find the food, they don't go for a walk and eat it. I mean, how do they walk down? Because I put the apples on top of a table, right?
Yeah.
And you couldn't climb up the table because I wanted to rule the possums out because we have all the animals of the rainforest here. And I said, but animals, when they get the food, they eat it. They don't carry it for about a kilometre and then eat it. But Yowies do because
Mm,
they put them in their bloody hands while they're walking. But the possums, they've got to use four hands to go somewhere. They can't carry them and they can't put them in a pouch.
mm,
Now, we fed them. Mind you, they've got plenty of food here and they're quite happy. Um, and now that we've got rid of the one that we got shot, everything's fine here. But we look upon them as our neighbours.
Mm.
yes.
Uh, they're our
Mm,
neighbours. And if anyone says to me, oh, they don't exist, I would say straight away, well, you don't know this because you don't live here with us. And they
yeah.
wouldn't like it anyway. Because if they're going to be your neighbours, you've got to be on good terms with them. And you've got to
Mm,
let them know that you respect them, you honour them.
yeah.
And once you do that, then they walk around here all the time. We hear them
Mm,
walking all the time at night. And it's their place. Remember this,
Mm.
before we put a house here, and before Cook came, they were living here then. And
yeah.
before humans came, they were living here. So it is their place. They moved.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And people wonder why they, yeah,
Why they don't
show
like
up and why they
it.
show up in our homes and things and think, oh, what are you doing here? But it's their land. So,
Yeah, it is
yeah.
our land. Yeah.
Mm.
I like how they do it in Iceland when they go, oh no, can't put a road there. That's where the gnomes live. Like that's where the elves live. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's their area. We'll have to put the road somewhere
And
else.
that was actually a
Yeah.
road that the leader of the country, president or prime minister, he wanted to go that way and had to shift around the ferry area. They
Mm.
weren't allowed to put it in there. And all
Yes.
credit to people in Iceland because they did a survey there and 63% believe in them.
Yeah.
That's great. More like 3%.
I spoke to a seer called Raga who had campaigned. She campaigned with environmental campaigners to stop the government destroying this elf church. It's this
Oh,
area of like volcanic area,
yeah,
Mm.
and they got arrested several times, but eventually they
they
agreed
won.
to change the route of the
Well,
road.
we're going to start
So,
doing that. What people don't understand about these Yowies, and I think it's the most important part of this story, is they know more about us than we do, and they know
mm,
more about the planet than we do, and they know more about the history of this planet than we do, and they know more about the future of this planet than we do. And we really should be, if we ever get the opportunity, we should sit down and listen to them, and they'll teach us so much. They
mm,
are the great keepers of the history of this planet. We don't understand any part of our history. Our history is a pack of lies, to be honest.
yeah,
Theirs is the absolute truth. So they are our betters. They're not primitive. Yeah, they don't wear clothes. What does that mean? Tell you what,
mm,
when we have a shower, we all don't wear clothes. What's the difference? They just don't put them back on and they go where they want,
yeah,
disappear when they want. It's their land. So,
mm,
yeah, we're quite happy with them. We're quite happy to talk about them now. And if people don't believe us, I don't care because I know
yeah.
they're here. Yeah,
Mm.
that's all that matters.
Thank you ever so much for your time, both you,
Pleasure.
Stephen and Evan. It's been so interesting. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to mention your upcoming conference that you're
Good. Yeah,
doing
thank you.
before we
Just
finish.
Yeah, look, very simply for anyone that is interested, this is the first time this has been done in our country. We're pulling together elders from all over the country um, to talk about Old Way, but there's one thing that's very important. One of our elders, Nissan Lowry, was taken aside by two old men. Everybody knows Eric Walker and Harry Pop, and was given a prophecy and was told he could never share it with anyone until he was 54. Well, this year he turned 54. And the prophecy is going to be given at the conference we're doing. Now, of course, your people in England would have a lot of trouble getting to Australia for the conference.
Mm,
And the conference, what we're doing is we're charging about $200 for 3 days, which is really cheap. And by the way, $200 in England is, is about £80. But
yeah.
what we're also doing is we're going to film all of it. And
Mm,
you're going to hear elders talking about a change that's coming of the whole planet. And what Nissan's going to talk about is exactly what the Hopi spoke about. They said the hour has come, the earth is changing. Well, the elders believe that too. Now, what we're going to do is this whole concert is called One Step Forward. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the prophets on first, then we're going to talk about what the Hopi say. When the change comes, you have to learn the old teachings and the old ways. So
mm,
we've pulled in men and women to talk about women's business, men's business. An elder we're going to talk about, the one that disappeared in front of Graham Hancock, someone's going to come and talk about that. And we're going to talk about how the earth will be in the future when this change takes place. Now, the Hopi have said the change is upon us, and we went to a ceremony 3.5 years ago at Uluru, and 15 to 20 million people around the planet were involved in that. We
mm,
got people from all over to be part of that, and we've got proof, and we're going to show people on there absolute proof that that ceremony was successful. So if people wanted to be part of that and look at that, you could purchase this for 50 Australian dollars for the whole 3 days, right? And there's about 15 hours there because we want to make this cheap. We're trying to get it out.
mm,
But 50 Australian dollars turns out, if you live in England, as I suspect you do, our dollar's not worth much when it comes to the English pound. That turns out to be about $28. No, 50. No, no, it doesn't. It ends up to be $18, 18 to $19, not pounds rather. So if you wanted to look at that, you'll find out a completely different story about what our elders know. And guess where Harry Pop and Uncle Eric got their information from? We were talking about them, weren't we?
Mm.
They know. They all know there's a change that's coming. And Nissan's been sitting on this one for 25 years. He was told when he was 29, until he got to 54, he was told, until you turn
Oh,
54, you cannot share this prophecy. First time ever it's going to be shared next month. So if some of your
wow.
listeners would like to be part of that,
I'd like
yes,
to
you've
be
got,
part of it.
well, the
Yeah.
$50 doesn't become much in England, I can tell
No,
you.
no.
And then you will become part of it because what happens in the start, we're going to have men and women on, mainly men on the first day because we're doing men's business on the first
Mm.
day, women's business on the second day. But we're starting with an astrologer, aren't we?
Numerology.
Numerologist is going to tell you about the numbers that work up the same way. Then after we've done that, then we're going to give you proof that what happened at Uluru, where the elders put in something called the magic box was turned on, which
Hmm.
happens to be crystals we think came from the Pleiades.
Oh, wow.
And then what we're going to do is after we've done that and we've given proof, then Nissan and Uncle Lewis Walker will do a 2 hour session. Now, Uncle Lewis is the only person on the east coast of Australia that lives Otway. And let me explain what that means. He doesn't live with anyone else, does he, Evan?
No, no.
And we drove to his place once, and the last 4 kilometres is not a road. And we're in a four-wheel drive, mate. We're going through creeks and saying, how do we get through this? And when you finally get to Uncle Lewis's place, his bed mattress lays in the dirt. He has a tarp on the top, and he has a grandson and 20 dingoes.
Yeah.
There are dingoes everywhere, and they're little
Mm.
puppy dingoes that come up and
Mm.
play, don't they?
Yeah.
And there's one dingo that's tied up because it bites anyone bar Lewis and Binner
Yeah.
because he doesn't know anyone but them. And he lives Olway, and we dragged him out of the forest. I went and saw him and asked him to
Mm.
come, and he's going to talk about. He was a part of that ceremony too. He did his own ceremony around there. He's going to talk about what Olway means so people can prepare themselves for that change. So I would invite people to come along. It's very cheap. $50 Australian is cheap for what we're putting on, and we're going to film the whole thing and put it up. But if you're in England, it's not 50, it's not even 25. It's about 18, 19, $20. It's
Yeah,
very cheap, pounds. So
amazing.
come along and join us. It's worthwhile.
Yeah, I encourage all my listeners to sign up if you're
Well, you'll
interested
get
in
to
hearing
hear old
more.
way from people.
Yeah.
You'll get to hear from the first culture, and you'll be talking to people, men and women. Auntie Trudy's going to be there. These are people that are so old way, and they know all the magic,
Mm.
all the stuff that happens, and the way we used to live, and the way we're going to live again. You will
Mm.
enjoy it, and you'll learn a lot about how indigenous people around the world used to live
Mm.
and will live that way again because they've made it clear, and the Hopi have made it very clear, and so have the original people. You have to embrace our wisdom, our knowledge, and our truths because yours are
Mm.
lies, and
Mm.
we know the real truth. So come and join us. Be worthwhile.
Thank you. And I just wanted to finish by saying that when I was in my 20s, I traveled to Australia and I had a couple of months in Cairns.
Oh,
And yeah, and I worked with the Aboriginal Council because I was on a working visa. And it was one of the most fascinating and enlightening times of my life.
great.
And yeah, I after I'd left Australia, which I found really difficult to leave, I felt that my connection with the land had really amped up. So when I came back to England, it's
Yeah,
like I'd expanded.
Mm.
yeah.
And so that's where my work with the other worlds really started to begin in truth.
Mhm.
Yeah, from that point.
Well, you would do
So,
because the original people believed the spirits are in the land, they're in the trees, they're in the birds, they're
yeah.
in every drop. And you would have been told that time after time. And whatever you're doing, they're watching you all the time, assessing what you do. And they believe it. They believe
Mm.
it because it's true. And if you're going to spend some months with them, obviously it'll affect you in a good way. Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you for coming and working in Cairns with the original people. We appreciate that. Uh,
Yeah. I loved
yeah,
it.
because it's tough for us. The original people have done it really hard in this country. We
Yeah.
really have not been respected.
Mm,
No one's listened to anything we've got to say, and it's been very difficult for us. But we know, and people will find this out when they see the conference we're putting on. Your time, the whitefellas' time, is coming to a close. But
mm,
you're invited. This is not a color thing. We call this Wiritjin, blackfella, whitefella dreaming. And then my elder is the one who created that, didn't he? He
Yeah.
created that. It's gone around Australia. Everyone knows it, but they don't fully understand it. It's
mm,
about the fact that all of the stuff, all the magic, all the wisdom that we have, we want to share.
mm,
We want to give it to everybody when this change comes. And all we ask you to do is to be receptive and listen, and we'll give it to you.
mm.
But obviously you were, and obviously a lot of people in Australia still aren't. But we're working on that.
Thank you so much, Stephen and
Pleasure.
Evan. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you and yeah, wonderful.